Hello my friends and welcome to a new video. Today a review about the bHaptics TactSuit Air. A big difference between this hardware and other hardware like the Next Level Racing HF8 or bass shakers or anything like that is that bHaptics has been a player for a long time already in another market. Virtual reality applications, first-person shooters. So they developed their TactSuit more for that kind of applications, and this is why my daughter was so interested in testing this. And I brought a lot of things home already, and I never knew hers to be so willing to test new hardware, but with this TactSuit Air she really wanted to test it. The TactSuit comes in two different flavors. You have the Pro version, which has 32 haptic reactors, and then you have the Air version, the one that I have to test, with 16 haptic reactors. Comes also in two different colors. You have the white and the black, and then you have the black and the red with some shades of gray in it. When I went first looking on the site for the vest, I was like, oh, okay, that's a complete armor with plastic moldings and stuff like that. But that's not the case. It's a very light jacket on the inside, very breathable material that you have here. Something which I also want to mention is that you can take the Velcro thingy off and put it back. You can replace it with something more personal to you. The haptic reactors themselves, you can find them here in the center and then to the side. So you have 8 in total here, and the same for the back. There they are a bit more closer to each other. You have 1 to the side and then 1 more here, 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 and also on the bottom you have them here. So 16 haptic reactors in total. To change the size, of course, you have here these straps. Now I am a bit there is a lot of weight on me also, but I didn't have any issues with fitting it. On the back also you have the module, so this contains the battery, the Bluetooth module, and it just drives the entire haptic reactors. Something which I really don't like when I add new hardware to my sim rig is that I need to find a space on the back of my computer to plug in the USB. Also, most of the time it requires some extra power too. So yeah, you're a bit stuck with it. 2 extra wires that go into this. When you look at the HF8, for example, well, you have the cables here, the cables coming out. You have the control box. You have the jack for audio. Then you have the USB that you need to connect to the computer. So you end up with actually quite a lot of wires. And well, this is something which bHaptics thought about, and they introduced like the Bluetooth connection. They added a little Bluetooth adapter with it, but you can also use it with the internal Bluetooth of your computer if you already have that. That's something really fantastic. Of course, there is also the ability to just connect it via a jack to have the audio drive the haptics, but I would really recommend the Bluetooth. So this is really a very interesting feature of this TactSuit Air. The first thing that you want to do when you start playing is download the bHaptics player. This will allow you already to pair the vest and, in my case, also the sleeves. Now the bHaptics player is a very basic piece of software. You can test stuff with it, and there is also an integration already for quite some games, but most of them are not really mainstream games. What bHaptics does do is create different modifications, different plugins. One of those plugins is a plugin for SimHub. My first impressions of this plugin are, it's a really basic plugin. You have all the motors, and then you have all the effects, and then you can just put them on or off, and a desired intensity of the effect that you receive. You can have this for both the front, the back, and the sleeves separately. Now you can see that this is still a work in progress. Some of the values on one page have a slider bar, on the other page it's like a plus and a minus. So yeah, that's a bit still a work in progress, but it does what it needs to do. The first thing that I did is I adapted a bit of the settings. So in standard you get a lot of settings, RPM, speed, traction control, gear shift, everything is activated, but you don't really want that. You want to keep it really simple to start with. Now it says on the box that it is only for VR or VR exclusive, but this is not the case, of course. You guys know that I have some issues with VR, so I tested it without virtual reality, and this is what it felt like. So once you're done with the configuration, you can go to the track. And already you can feel, even though that these haptic reactors are less powerful than the reactors in, for example, the HF8 Pro of Next Level Racing, you can feel that they already give quite a kick. The vest is really tied to your body, so they are really pressed into you, the reactors, which makes it really a powerful feeling already to have. Now, one thing, because I tested this already before, these sleeves that I have, I'm not sure if they are really that much of added value to the setup in sim racing. It adds a bit of extra weight to your arm, which I'm not really a fan of. And I also think that the feedback, the force feedback of the steering wheel is much more important and should provide the haptic sensation for your arms. So what I will do is just take these sleeves and just put them under my legs like this. That's much better. So a lot freer for the arms. I really like that. And the added bonus is now that I can also have some haptic sensation for my legs. It's not ideal, of course, because yeah, it's not really made to put under your legs, but still it's a much better sensation than you have just having them around your forearms. When it comes to comfort, so you have the haptic reactors which are in your back and you can feel them, and especially the console itself, it comes really low, just above my where my neck starts. So if you press really hard, you can really feel them. Now, is it manageable? Yeah, I think so, but I really have a very soft seat also, so that helps. I think that if you really lay into your seat, like with a bucket seat that you lay more back, then it can be a bit more troublesome to have those reactors poking into your back. But for this, it's okay. Absolutely very nice sensation. Now, one thing that I did is I disabled almost all the effects on the middle of the vest, because I tried it first with all these activated, but because they rumbled so hard on my belly, I started to get a bit nauseous because of it. So I deactivated those. I still have those on the side activated. Yeah, it definitely adds a lot more to the upper part than for example, the Next Level Racing HF8, because you also have those on the sides here, the reactors. Of course, because this vest is mainly designed, or was mainly designed, for more first-person shooters, yeah, you don't have any add-ons for the legs, for example, or non-officially, because I use the sleeves, but there are no, so you don't have any feeling of force feedback, of haptic feedback in your bum, under the seats, and this is something that I miss. because SimHub can also capture the game telemetry being sent by games like Gran Turismo on console. You can also use the SimHub to drive your vest and use the haptics via the game telemetry instead of just the audio of the game. This is a very interesting feature also. And what makes it even more interesting is that the vest is connected via Bluetooth. This means that you don't need to have a computer right next to you, next to your PlayStation, to connect via USB to the haptics themselves. So you can have basically your PC in the living room, which has SimHub on it. It captures the game telemetry of the PlayStation 5, which is in the garage, and then it sends back the signals towards your vest and gives you the haptics. That is really phenomenal. Another thing that I really like a lot about this solution is that it is completely separate from your seat. So you can just use it on your racing seat, but then you go on your desk to play some FPS or whatever, and well, you just take your haptics with you. If you have a solution like the Next Level Racing HF8, like a mat that you put in it, well, it is most of the time installed on the seat. The cable wire, the wires are nicely arranged and stuff like that, and it's connected to everything. So this is not the case with this vest. So you just take it with you, and this is something very important. Also, when I look at the seat, well, aesthetically it is not as pleasing as it can be. So if you can just take away this solution, you can see this beautiful Next Level Racing seat much better. And I think this is also a very positive point for this solution. So the TactSuit Air comes in at $269 US, which is about the price as the competition, the HF8. It's a bit more expensive, or a butt kicker. They are all a bit in the same region, so 269 USD. The tech sleeves that I have come in at $199, and if you buy the combination, the package, starter package, comes in at $418 US. The TactSuit Air represents bHaptics' entry into the growing haptics market for simulated driving. It delivers a strong first impression, particularly with its wireless design that eliminates cable clutter and with its flexibility across multiple genres, from racing to flight simulators and even first-person shooter titles. However, for sim racing in particular, the experience feels incomplete. The lack of feedback under the seat and around the upper legs leaves a noticeable gap in immersion. While the tact sleeves offer a partial workaround, they cannot replace a solution purpose-built for racing. Similarly, the front center actuators are limited value in this context. While I certainly see a lot of positive points, as it stands, the TactSuit Air is difficult to fully recommend to sim racing enthusiasts. The concept shows promise, and an add-on specifically addressing lower body haptics would be a meaningful step forward. Some extra padding for the back to lessen the poking of the reactors would also be a big bonus. That said, the overall usability is commendable. Switching from a sim rig to casual gaming takes only seconds, and the experience is accessible and enjoyable, even outside of racing. With refinement, the TactSuit Air could evolve into a much stronger proposition. Thank you all for watching. I hope you had something from this video. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and I will see you all next video. Bye bye.